Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Ethiopia's capital and largest city, Addis Ababa, is also known as Finfinne Natural Spring. The city is located a few miles west of the East African Rift, which divides Ethiopia into two plates, the Nubian Plate and the Somali Plate, and is located between the two plates. The city is surrounded by the Special Zone of Oromia and is populated by Ethiopians from all across the country. Addis Ababa is also the capital of the Oromia Region, as it is a chartered city. The city is divided into 10 subcities or boroughs. The empress dubbed the city Addis Ababa, New Flower, when it was founded in 1887. From 1936 to 1941, Addis Ababa served as the capital of Italian East Africa. Between 1941 and 1960, Addis Ababa underwent very minor modifications, but progress has been significant since then. Welcome to ThinkRich Media, the community which brings to you entrepreneurial, business, and personal development content to inform, motivate, and inspire you. We also want to introduce you to our special African development playlist because we strongly believe entrepreneurship, rather than global pity, is the key to Africa's growth and development. So if you're African and you aren't subscribed to our community, you're missing out. History. Addis Ababa was Ethiopia's last imperial capital and is now the capital of the modern state of Ethiopia. Addis Ababa began as a mineral springs retreat for Ethiopia's royal family and nobles in 1886. In Toto, its immediate predecessor was located on a high tableland and was deemed to be unsuitable due to excessive cold and a severe lack of firewood. Emperor Menelik reigned 1889 to 1913. Wife, Empress Tedu, encouraged him to build a home near the hot springs at the foot of the tableland and to gift nobility members land in the area. When Emperor Menelik II built his palace there in 1892, he declared it the capital. By 1896, members of the nobility had begun to establish permanent residences in the new capital. Neighborhoods carrying the names of these aristocrats housed their adherents, as did districts for imperial employees. Ras Tafari Makonnen, afterwards Haile Selassie, had risen to become one of Addis Ababa's most influential figures by 1917. He saw the city's future importance and redistributed most of his newly acquired money to attract support from the growing urban Ethiopian elite. Tafari rose to the top of a regency council after a series of mass rallies in Addis Ababa in 1918. Between 1926 and 1927, Addis Ababa had an economic boom, spurred by the lucrative processing of coffee and hides right before export. The city's bourgeoisie, aided by this new income, began to build large stone houses filled with imported European furnishings, and the wealthiest among them began to drive vehicles. In a stunning week-long celebration in 1930, Tafari was crowned Emperor Haile Selassie. A wave of citywide renovations, including street paving, the installation of power lines and telephones, and the creation of various monuments throughout Addis Ababa, preceded the spectacular. The emperor was forced to flee Addis Ababa and the country in 1936 after a series of defeats by the Italians, who had invaded in 1935. This sparked a riot in the capital, which was only put down after the Italians took control of the city a few days later. Addis Ababa was liberated 5 years later with the help of a British force, and Selassie re-entered the city. Addis Ababa proceeded to modernize and draw international investors, traders, and Ethiopians from the countryside over the next 2 decades, and it became a hub of higher education. However, the government's sluggish response to a famine in 1973 sparked a series of student protests in Addis Ababa in 1974, followed by a successful coup d'etat that deposed Selassie. With a population of 3.3 million people in 2008, Addis Ababa remains Ethiopia's capital and first is distinctive. Addis Ababa, unlike many African towns, was not founded as a colonial settlement. This indicates that the city's architecture is not in the European style. With the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in 1936, this changed. The most visible evidence of Italian influence is the Piazza district in the city center. The architecture is distinctly Italian, and there are numerous Italian restaurants, as well as little cafes and European-style shopping malls. The National Palace, originally known as the Jubilee Palace, and Menelik's Old Imperial Palace, which is the official seat of government, are well worth visiting. Jubilee Palace was likewise inspired by the United Kingdom's Buckingham Palace. The city is home to the Ethiopian National Library, the Ethiopian Ethnological Museum, and former Genit Lul Palace, the Addis Ababa Museum, the Ethiopian Natural History Museum, the Ethiopian Railway Museum, and National Postal Museum. The National Museum of Ethiopia houses the fossilized skeleton and a plaster replica of the early hominid Lucy, also known as Dinkanesh in Ethiopia. People and culture. The many churches, mosques, museums, and cuisines reflect the diversity of its people. Ethiopians take their history very seriously, and they have good reason. Ethiopia has one of the world's oldest Christian traditions. It was one of just 2 African countries not colonized, but it's commonly recognized that the first people originated from the Rift Valley flowing through Ethiopia. The National Museum of Ethiopia houses the famous Lucy, the oldest and most complete hominid skeleton yet discovered, which was discovered in the Danakil Desert in northeastern Ethiopia. Addis Ababa, meantime, is a city of cafes, traditional coffee shops and bars and restaurants, and ladies walking the streets with thermos flasks, all of which serve strong, high-quality coffee. Government and services. Because of its historical, diplomatic, and political importance to the continent, Addis Ababa is often referred to as Africa's political capital. It also serves as the headquarters for the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, ECA, and a number of other continental and international organizations. The city of Addis Ababa is one of 2 federal cities in Ethiopia that are accountable to the Ethiopian federal government, according to the Ethiopian Constitution of 1995. The mayor, who leads the executive branch, and the city council, which enforces city ordinances, make up Addis Ababa's administration. However, as part of the federal government, the federal legislature enacts laws that are binding in Addis Ababa. Members of the city council are chosen directly by the city's people, and the council, in turn, elects the mayor from among its members. Education. Ethiopia's educational and administrative capital is Addis Ababa. It is home to Addis Ababa University, which was founded in 1950, as well as several teacher training institutes and technical schools. The Museum of the Institute of Ethiopian Studies, operated by the university, the National School of Music, the National Library and Archives, past emperors' palaces, and government departments are all located in the city. The African Union and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, both of which are headquartered in Africa Hall, are 2 of the most important international organizations with headquarters in the city. Industry and commerce. Textiles, shoes, food, beverages, wood goods, plastics, and chemical items are among the things manufactured in Addis Ababa. The city also houses the majority of Ethiopia's service industries. Addis Ababa is the hub of banking and insurance services, as well as the home of the country's major newspapers. The majority of Ethiopia's export and import traffic passes through Addis Ababa. Much of the country's internal trade passes through the city, which serves as a collecting and distribution point. The Mercado in the city's western outskirts is one of Africa's largest open-air markets. Transportation. The nation's transportation network is centered in Addis Ababa. There are several roads that connect it to other major towns. The only railway travels to Djibouti. On September 20, 2015, Addis Ababa's light rail system opened to the public. This is the first system of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa. The route is a 34.25-kilometer, 21.28-mile network with 2 lines, with the operating line extending from the city center to the south. An international airport serves the city, which was previously known as Haile Selassie I International Airport. It is the primary hub of Ethiopian Airlines, the country's national carrier, which offers non-stop service to Asia, Europe, North America, and South America, as well as domestic and international destinations in Ethiopia and across Africa. The Ethiopian Aviation Academy is also based at the airport. Nearly 450 planes per day were departing and arriving at the airport as of June 2018. Thank you for watching. If there are any tips you think should be on this list but is not, leave a comment, let us know. Help our channel grow. We hope this video has been helpful to you. Support us by liking the video, subscribing, and turning on your notification.